Hi guys, today you're going to learn your next gas law, which is called the ideal gas law. So you'll notice that it has this word ideal in it. And remember, ideal means that it's a perfect gas. So here's the law, here's the equation. It's PV-nRT. PV equals nRT. So let's talk about what each of those letters means and how this is going to work. So P stands for pressure, V stands for volume, and this has to be in liters. N means number of moles. I know your favorite thing ever, moles. R is a little bit weird. It's called the ideal gas constant. The word constant means it's always going to be the same number. This is not something you need to memorize. We will give this to you. So you'll just have to choose between these two. There's two options for R. It'll be 0.0821 liters atmospheres moles Kelvin, or 8.314 liters kPa moles Kelvin. So notice the only difference is this unit right here. And so just based on the pressure in the question is how we'll choose the correct ideal gas constant. Again, this is not something you have to memorize. These are numbers that will be given to you and you'll just have to use them in your math. The last letter is T, which stands for temperature, but the weird thing about the temperature is it has to be in a unit called Kelvin. Usually we use, in America, Fahrenheit, right? But nobody else in the world uses that, so they all use Celsius, but that won't work either. Kelvin is an absolute temperature scale. Basically that means it can't be a negative number. So what you're going to have to do is take the Celsius temperatures that you're given and convert them to Kelvin. You're going to do that by just adding 273. So it's a nice easy conversion. So let's try a couple here. So if I take 12 and if I just add 273, I get 285. Same thing, 54 plus 273 equals 327. Add the next one, 34 plus 273. 307. Try the last two and then compare. Let's see if you can convert to Kelvin. Alright, so here's what you get. Okay, here's the point of this. You are not allowed to use these numbers in PV-nRT. Your unit on your temperature must be Kelvin. So just double check that before you do your math. Okay. Now, we also said that these are ideal gas properties. Remember, ideal means perfect. And last unit you learned, well, what are those properties of an ideal gas? What makes a gas perfect? And so remember we had our acronym RISN. So remember, RISN stands for random, independent, straight line, elastic, and no volume. These are the properties of the ideal gas that allow us to do the math with PV-nRT. And so now we're just going to work through a whole bunch of problems and let's see how we do. First thing you're going to do every time is write the formula. PV equals nRT. Okay. So then it's kind of nice. Find all the numbers. There's one, there's another one. And the question says, what is the temperature? That means that this T right here is the X. That's the piece that I don't know. So let's find everything else. P stands for pressure. The units for pressure are ATM, so 5.60 goes there. V stands for volume. Volume, the unit has to be liters, so it's 12.0 equals. N means number of moles, says moles right there. Then we have R. Remember, R is the constant. It is given to you right here. All you have to do is put it into this math. And then the last piece, T, is where the X goes. Okay? So then we're just going to solve, multiply these two numbers together. I get 67.2 equals. Multiply these two numbers together, and I get 0.3284x. Then we're just going to solve for x by dividing. Okay? So plug this into your calculator. And I get x equals 204.6285, and your favorite thing ever, sig figs. Each of our beginning numbers had 3 sig figs, so I'm going to round this to 3 sig figs. That's right here. The 6 bumps it up and it becomes 205. Because I was solving for temperature, The unit for temperature is Kelvin, not Celsius. Remember, everything here has to be Kelvin temperatures. Alright, next. A little bit more difficult here. PivNert. And then let's find some numbers. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Our R is right there. And this question says how many moles? So that means N, the number of moles, is the piece that I don't know. That will become my X. So let's look for a pressure first. Pressure units can be ATM, so that's that number. Next is volume, where the units are liters, which is 31.0. We said N is the thing we don't know. We're solving for that. R is given here. And temperature is here. But here's the problem. It's in Celsius. So we need to add 273. You have to remember to do that because it says Celsius. So now we're just going to solve. So when I do this addition right here, I get 360. And then I can solve just like I did in the previous one. Multiply these numbers together and I get 37.2. And I multiply these numbers together with the 360 and I get 29.556 and X. Now we're going to solve for X. Divide by the thing that's touching the X. That cancels. X equals, put this into your calculator. So I get 1.258627 blah blah blah. And sig figs. We have 3, 3, and 3. So our answer should have 3. This 8 is going to make the 5 bump up those. So it's going to become 1.26. And lastly, we were solving for moles, so I put the unit of mole on my answer. Alright, next one. PivNert. Write that formula every time, use it as your map. And then let's find some numbers. There's one, there's one, there's one, here's my R. This one says, what is the pressure? So that means I'm going to put an X in the spot where P goes. Okay, so I'll start with that, X. Next to it I need to write the volume. Liters is the unit for volume. N means moles, which is 3.00, says moles right on it. R is the constant given right here. And lastly, I need a temperature, which is here. Now notice this one is already in Kelvin, so we do not need to add 273. They did the work for us. Thank you. So we have over here 60x equals, let's take all three of these numbers and multiply together, and I get 98.52. Then we're just going to solve for x, divide by 60. And I get 1.642, and we'll just check out our sig figs. I see 3. This one has 4. I have 3 here. When you have a choice, go lower. So we're going to do 3. This 2 is going to leave my 4 alone, so it becomes 1.64. And now I was solving for pressure. Possible units for pressure are kPa or ATM. But luckily, this question tells us ATM. So it's right there. We don't have to guess. Already given to us. Alright, next we're going to do PivNert. Every time you're going to write it. Then let's grab a highlighter and find some numbers. There's one, there's one, there's one. Here's the R value that we're going to need. And this question says, what is the volume? So that means V is where the X is going to go. That's the piece that I don't know. So first we need a P number, pressure number. That can be kPa. Next to it I'll write X because I don't know the volume yet. We're going to solve for that. N means I need moles, 7.70. R is the constant given to us. And lastly I need a temperature, which I see here is 56. But notice that it's in Celsius, so we need to add 273. Now we're all set to solve. When I do this addition, I get 329. And now we're going to start simplifying here. Multiply these three numbers together. I get a big number. And then solve for x. Divide by what's touching it. X equals, when I put that in my calculator, I get 147.73138, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to check out our sig figs. I see 4, I see 3, I see 3. Remember, when you have the choice, go low, so we're going to choose 3. This 7 is going to make the other 7 bump up, though, so it's going to become 148. And we were solving for volume. Volume, the unit is liters. Okay, number 5 is the trick question. I'm just going to tell you that now, so stick with me. Start with our formula. PV equals nRT. Let's find some of the numbers. There's one. Well, that's not the color I like. There's a number. Here's R. There's a number. There's a number. And this question says we need to determine the pressure. So that means P becomes the X, the thing we don't know. So X goes there. V for volume, I see liters, that's the unit that I need there. N means moles. And we don't have moles. But we have something really, really close, and thankfully we know how to turn grams into moles. So we have to do that. You cannot just put 272 in there, okay? So let's do a quick fence. One step to turn grams into moles. Grams up, grams down, I want it to be moles. So we need the molar mass. Okay, here's our compound. It is methane. The ending of ane tells you that is a hydrocarbon. Meth means there's one. And because it's ane, the formula for your hydrogens, you're going to take your carbons and you're going to times 2 plus 2. So 1 times 2 plus 2 is 4. This is the formula for methane, so let's find the mass of that. So carbon, there's 1 times 12, H, 4 times 1. The molar mass of this is 16. So put this in your calculator, and let's see. I get exactly 17.0 moles. That's the number that I can now put in for N. R is our constant given here. And then I need the T for temperature, which I see 67, but notice it's Celsius, so I have to add 273. Now we're just going to start to solve. Add those two numbers together, you get 340. So over here I get 75x equals. Take these three numbers and multiply them. 48031.8. Divide so we can solve for x. When I put that in my calculator, I get 640.424, and we just need to decide on sig figs. So I see 3 all the way around, so let's make our answer have 3. That's here. The 4 means that I can leave the 0 alone, but then I have to decide, do I need the decimal or not? So, if I leave the number without the decimal, then it's Atlantic. I count this way. This has 2 sig figs. With the decimal, the number is Pacific, and I count this way, and it has 3 sig figs. We decided we wanted 3 sig figs, so we need that decimal right there. Otherwise, your answer will have the incorrect sig figs. Okay, so 640 point, and then we're just going to put a unit on. We were looking for pressure. Remember, pressure has an option, kPa or atm, but it tells us right there, kPa. So your unit is provided for you. You just have to put it on your answer. Alright, that's as hard as it gets with this extra little bit of grams right here. So if you're feeling good about that, try the rest of the problems on your page. If you want a little bit more help, I'll walk through the rest of them. Alright, PV equals nRT. Alright, find all the numbers that you need. And this question says we need to determine the number of moles. That means N is the piece that I do not know. So I'm going to put X in that spot. So the pressure number is kPa on it. Volume has liters on it. N is the thing I don't know, so X goes there. R is 8.314, that was given to me. And temperature is right here, it's 25, but because it's Celsius, we need to add 273. And so now we're just going to start solving. When I add these temperatures right here, I get 298. Multiply here, multiply here. Let's see what we get. Big number over here, and X. Then we just need to divide to solve. Alright, that cancels. Put this into your calculator, and when I do that, I get a very tiny number. 0.86565, on and on and on. Let's check out our sig figs. All around at the beginning, we had 3. The third sig fig here, this is not significant. This is not significant. The third sig fig is really here at this 5. The 6 is going to bump it up though, so my answer becomes 0.0866, and we were looking for the number of moles, so that's the unit that goes on the answer. Next question, PivNerd. And let's find some numbers. There's one, there's one. Oh, I don't like that color. Here's R. And this question says, what is the temperature? So that means T is where the X will go. That will be the piece that I don't know. So first I need a pressure number. The pressure unit right there is ATM. Volume, I look for the unit of liters. N means moles right here. R is given to me. And I'm going to put an X in for that last piece that I don't know. So we're just going to multiply that, multiply that. So I get 43.96 here. And I get 0.31198. Okay, then we just have to solve for X. Alright, put this into your calculator, divide those two numbers, and we get 140.90646 something. And let's figure out our sig figs. All of the numbers we started with had 3, so the third sig fig here is at the 0. But the 9's going to bump it up, so it becomes 141. And we were looking for temperature. Remember, the unit for temperature is not Celsius. You may not use that. Our unit for temperature is K for Kelvin. Alright, let's do another one. PivNerd. And let's find some numbers. There's one, there's one, there's one. I got R over here. Alright, so the question asks me to find what is the pressure. So that means the X will go right there. So, X first. Next to the volume, the unit for volume is liters. N means moles. Oh no, they didn't give me moles. They gave me something close though. So we're going to have to do a quick fence to turn grams into moles. Now here my chemical is water, so let's find the molar mass of that. There's 2 hydrogens, they weigh 1 apiece. There's 1 oxygen, they weigh 16 apiece. The molar mass of that is 18. So when I do that division, I get 6.94 moles. That's what I'm going to put in over here for N. Next I need R, given to me. And lastly I need the temperature, which is here. Notice it is already in Kelvin, so you do not need to add 273. It's done for you. So now we're just going to start solving. Multiply these 3 numbers together, and I get 177.769488. Divide here to solve. So X equals, put this into your calculator. I get 11.851292, and we're going to check out our sig figs. Everything in the beginning had 3 sig figs, so we want 3 sig figs, which is at the 8. The 5 afterwards, though, means we're going to round it up to become 11.9. And we were looking for pressure, and it tells us that that should be measured in ATM. So that's the unit that we put on our answer. Oh, almost done. Doing good. PivNert, every time. Let's find some numbers. There's one. There's one. There's one. R right here. The question said, how many moles of the gas? So that means N is the piece that I don't know. Alright, so let's put in everything else. P is pressure, ATM. V for volume is liters. N is where I don't know, so I'm going to put an X. 0.0821 was the R value given to me. And then I have 25. Oh, but that's in Celsius, so I have to remember to add 273. Okay, now we're set to solve. When I do that addition there, I get 298, and then let's do some multiplying. Combine your like terms. So 0.16764 over here, and 24.4658 and X. Divide by that. Alright, X equals, put that into your calculator. You get a very tiny number. 2014, but it doesn't matter. Let's check out our sig figs. We had 2 here, 3 here, 2 here. So given the choice, we're going to go low. Remember, these zeros do not count as significant, so our second sig fig is really right there. This 5 is going to make it round up, so it becomes 0.069. And I was looking for the number of moles, so that's what goes on my answer. Last problem. You made it. PivNert. Find yourself some numbers. What do you need here? There's something, there's something. There's one, there's one. And this question says determine the temperature. So that means T is where the X will go. That's the piece that I don't know. So let's find a pressure. Here's a pressure unit. Next we have V for volume, which is right here, the liters. N for moles, they gave me moles. R is given to you right there. And then T is the piece that I don't know. Okay, so now we're just going to solve. Multiply here, it's 143. Multiply here, and we get 20.6919x. Divide by that. Oh, that's sloppy. Hold on. This should be a 0. Okay, divide there. There we go. This is the piece that goes in your calculator. So we see X equals 6.910916.832. And we're just going to finish with sig figs. We had 3 all around, so let's make this have 3. The 0 afterwards means my 1 can stay. So 6.91. We were looking for temperature. The unit for temperature is not Celsius. It must be Kelvin. Alright, there's your ideal gas law. Let me know if you have any questions.